So a few that I will say that will help, someone to succeed in a cybersecurity role will be, being able to think outside the box is a big one. Being able to investigate. Do you have that investigative mindset? My name is Cyndie Ramirez. I am a graduate of Southern New Hampshire University, and I am currently a senior manager in the cybersecurity field.
And what was your degree in from SNHU?
Yeah, I earned my bachelor's degree in information technologies, and I did a concentration in cybersecurity.
Since entering cybersecurity, what kinds of roles or industries have you explored?
Since I entered cybersecurity, I started as a security analyst. So I worked in a SOC and worked there for a few years. And then from there, I started thinking through like what I wanted to do with my career. And that's when I had to decide if, what was best for me, because cyber is quite a big field. So from there, I went to insider threat. I always loved working the insider threat side of things. So I went and pivoted to senior analyst of insider threat team. And from there, worked there for a few years, and then I had the opportunity to become a manager actually. And then from that, I just kind of went into the management.
And what types of qualifications do people who want to become analysts typically need?
So a few that I will say that will help, someone to succeed in a cybersecurity role will be, being able to think outside the box is a big one. Being able to investigate. Do you have that investigative mindset? So again, right, depend on the role you're going in. Now, being able to have soft skills, being able to communicate with others, right? You have to be able to, because you work with a lot of teams, usually it is not just your team. And that's what I love about this field as well. Is that, although I may be in insider threat, I do collaborate heavily with a lot of teams. So I do still see what other teams are doing, and being able to have that great communication, and being, welcoming is very, it's a good skill to have. And being able to continue to learn. If you're not going to be interested in keep learning and is just something you think you can learn once and then you're just good, unfortunately it's not going to really work well because you have to keep learning. Any new technologies out there, you don't have to get very proficient at it, but at least understand it, up to the basics, where if it's being talked about in any calls or anything out, in anything around your company, what's being talked about. So being able to keep up also with, most recent technologies.
So if you're not in the field yet, but you're trying to gain these skills and information, how do you recommend somebody figure out what they need to know?
I would suggest to use, there's a lot of free things out there. LinkedIn, there's a lot of great folks in the industry that continuously put things out there for free for entry level type of analysts roles. So if you think of, in your mind, you're thinking, okay, I really would like to get into security operations role, right? Mm-hmm. My suggestion is, if that's what you're thinking, then you need to do some research out there to see what are some things that I should know, or at least understand to be in that role. And then those things, you take it and then you see what's available. I always say go for free, for free resources before you start paying, because there are a lot of free ones out there. So use the free resources, try to get into it, right? You have to put the time in, use some time, extra study time, whatever it may be, and, review those things. There's a lot out there. So doing that for maybe, a few months, you might do it and say, you know what, this is not exactly what I'm thinking I want to do. Then you kind of go to the next thing, right? And that's what I suggest. Another thing also I highly suggest, it may be a bit hard, but it is available, is finding a mentor. There are folks on LinkedIn that, again, you could find that are highly, respected in the industry. And they say, hey, you want a mentor, reach out. So I mentor, I will say that. So because I believe in the power of mentoring, because I believe I'm also a product of mentoring, and like I mentioned earlier. So there's definitely a lot of things out there. It might be overwhelming. So I would always say start with what you think you want to go in. So that way you are reviewing those things. And if it's not that, then you could pivot to the next thing.